Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of We Not Underscore Woke. We Not Underscore Woke. I am your host, Sali. As always, man, it is a pleasure. I thank you all for tapping in. Come checking the show out, man. If you like it, remember, man, like, subscribe, share, man, and make sure you have conversations, man. Come back here for the conversations because that's what we need to do, man. We need to exchange the information, gain more knowledge, and we grow from that. So I got a video for you guys, man. Kind of hit close to home. I'm gonna let y'all check it out. I'm gonna come back to you.
Let me tell y'all this so y'all don't make the same mistakes as me. So I got my son, right? And I was telling him to go, we went to the doctors or whatever, and I was telling him to act like he got ADHD. He didn't know what that meant, of course. But I basically talked him through it. I said, if doctors be talking to you and stuff like that, start complimenting stuff that ain't got nothing to do in it. If you see their earrings, be like, I like your earrings, and then I want you to just walk off and start pointing at the door or something. I don't really know how ADHD work.
So I'm not sure if this is a skit or not. I don't know if it's just her making content, but it hit close to home for me because when I was young, when I was a kid, I ended up getting in trouble going up state as a juvenile. This is important. Prior to that though, I was getting what they call SSI checks, right? And so there was a big push when I was growing up, and this is like in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a big push, for kids to be diagnosed with these different disorders. And if they get diagnosed with these disorders, the parents could potentially get a check, which was called an SSI check, right? No strings attached to it, outside of the fact that, they would diagnose your child as learning disabled, LD, ED. They had a few of those, learning disabled, emotionally disabled. Then it went from that to, ADHD, ADD, those things. And then the pharmaceutical companies, I'm quite sure, were a large factor in this because then they would prescribe to the kids medications. But I myself didn't really take medications, right? But the diagnosis was enough to get my mom a check for me, an SSI check. So with these checks, and it's crazy because I'll tell this story quickly and then I'll get back into this. So I got into trouble, went and did some juvenile time. I got out. So when you go to juvenile, you initially go in and they put you in this place called, this is in Virginia, they put you in this place called RDC, right? It's like a reception center and basically reception and diagnosis center. And so they basically test you, all around your mental aptitude, your intellectual aptitude. They test you all the way around, right? To see where can they place you? What is the best facility to send you to? What help do you need? And so I went there and apparently, I tested off the charts. You know what I'm saying? Like I tested off the charts, and I'm not thinking about much about that. So anyway, I get out after I did do my juvenile time. I get out, go back to high school. So now they have to assess me for high school, or assess me for school, whatever school I would be going to. I don't recall. I think it might have been middle school, might even been high school. And they assess me for what school I need to go to. But keep in mind now, while I was incarcerated as a juvenile, that SSI check got cut off because I'm no longer in the household. I'm actually incarcerated, even though I'm still a kid. The SSI check. So, for my mom, that was the most important thing, figuring out how to get that SSI check cut back on, right? And so, and I guess I was a benefit baby. I was one of those kids who mom was on, who was capable and of working, who had some skill set to work, but just didn't. She preferred to run the streets, typical thing that a lot of mothers did during that time, and more so now. Run the streets, hang with her friends, drink, get high, those type things, and being able to get those benefits, that additional SSI check, that went well for her, being able to enjoy her time, her days, right? She already getting EBT, and she's already getting welfare and all those other financial benefits from the government. Of course, an SSI check, would go in good, especially having a drug habit, being a crack addict. And so, when we go to do testing for me to get back put back on this check, she tells me, she said, "Hey, when you go in there, you got to play like you're slow." She said, "You got to, act like you drool from the mouth and, something like that. Act like you're kind of slow. Act like you're not, very smart." And so I'm like, okay, she's like, "This is the only way I can get this check." And I'm like, okay. I go in there and I'm like, I'm playing the part, but apparently I'm playing it too well because I'm in that bitch. I'm playing the part. I'm acting like I'm shit, pretty much fucking Down syndrome or fucking autistic or something because I'm in that bitch lane, like and so the people as they're doing these assessments, it's about 4 people in here too. It ain't just like the one person who back in the day initially did the testing, who came to the school and did the testing, and when I initially got on the check, when I was much younger. It's a group of people, and so they're looking at me and they're looking at me strange, and they're like, they turn to my mom and they tell her, they like, well, listen, in accordance to the testing that he did when he went to juvenile for the diagnostic center, um, this it doesn't indicate that this, right now he seems like he damn near mute or something. And so they were like, this isn't what those test results indicated. And even the test to get him back into school, because remember I just took the test from school, she didn't give me no instructions on that. And so they were like, he's above grade level in a lot of the classes that he'll be in. We don't feel like he needs an SSI check. Oh man, she snapped, and I think she did still get the SSI check, but it was based on something like mental something, having went through the juvenile system and mental institutionalization. Some way she figured out to get that SSI check back, right? But the caveat to that, right, was that she whether she knew it or not, she was building up in me a desire to settle for the bare minimum, right? And be lazy about it and not even work for it. And any man, they might not acknowledge any boy that grew up during the time that I grew up, and even now, because I've heard guys say, well, younger guys in their early 20s say, yeah, I can't work because I'm getting an SSI check. I can't make but so much money. And I'm like, what? Like that was my goal at one point. I remember thinking like, damn, I can't wait till I can get my own SSI check instead of my mom getting it. Like that's what that like, and like I said, this might be a skit, but it hits home, it hits home, and I would like to see a lot more skits like this because there's a lot of issues that were developed by us as young black boys growing up that were, whether consciously or not, I might subconsciously, it might just been the fact of knowing and not giving a fuck. Because there's no way that you can try to say that you want your child to grow up to be a very productive child, a productive citizen, someone who's successful, even beyond just accepting the bare minimal or the standard 9 to 5 job. You're saying you're trying to raise a child for this, then because eventually once you get old, you want that child to be in a position where they can take care of you, they can provide for you, they can return, their return on the investment that you put in them in rearing them and bringing them up. But you have to instill something in them. But if you don't, then how can you have the expectation? I remember a few years ago, my mom asked me, she said, this is when we were talking, she about 4 or 5 years ago, she was like, yeah, I thought you said you're gonna buy me a house when you were young. Okay, well, I'm a single father now. I have a daughter. That is my concern. And thinking back to when you were grooming me to go in there and pretend like I was slow or I was mentally disabled for an SSI check, you weren't setting me along a path in which I would grow into somebody who could provide for you and take care of you. You took your tokens then. You decided to take your tokens then in exchange for muting and stunning my growth, not cultivating the intellect and the possible ability that was within me at that time, not sacrificing and saying, okay, I'm gonna lay off that SSI thing because I want him to be a little bit more than that. No, she even in fact told me things like, yeah, this you'll be able to get this check when you get older, but you ain't gonna be able to work with it. How fucking dare you? How fucking dare you think so little of me? Because you have small thoughts about yourself. Because you think of yourself as less. You think of yourself as only capable of getting a check, even to this day. And that's what you want to instill in my daughter, in my child? No, that grandparenting isn't necessary. It's crazy because as parents, what we have to understand is that we are totally responsible. Children are like sponges. We are totally responsible for guiding them, for instilling in them the things to become better people, to be successful, to chase their wildest dreams. But we can't have that expectation that they're going to do all those things if we don't come with something to provide, if we don't come with something to pour into them. Because being sponges, if we're not filling them up, they're absorbing that from the world. They're absorbing that from their peers. They're the people that the kids they go to school with, and as they grow, to keep their peers that they're around outside of school, their relationships, the men they choose, the women they choose. We're leaving that part of their growth to be taught by society, to be taught by the school system. And we have expectations. No, they're going to go out there and cater to the world because that's what we've instilled in them. I would never tell my child to pretend to be less, pretend to be incapable, incompetent, inept. I would never instill that type of ideal in my child, that is a standard that they need to meet for me for any reason. We have lofty goals. I have high expectations for my child. And this is the type of thing that's hurting us. If you are incapable of giving to your child the things that need to be given to them, and we're not talking about financially, step out of the way. Step out of the way. Ma'am, step out of the way. Let that father have his turn at fucking this kid up, because if that's what you think he's gonna do, it's not gonna only thing it would do is get in the way of you fucking him up. We have to understand that we don't necessarily have to know not, right? You should know how not to raise your child, how not to if you've been through a struggle and you grew through a struggle and your father wasn't there growing up, then you don't want that for your child. There was division between the parents. You don't want that for your child. We got to tighten up, man. We not _woke, man. Stay tapped in, man. I am your host, Sali. And like I said, man, share, like, subscribe, man.